How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the Gear Vault. Today in the vault, we've got the new 7mm Backcountry in the Savage Trail Hunter Lite, 16.5-inch barrel, 3 different types of ammo. We're going to test velocity. We're going to try to test some accuracy. It's a little windy today, but the main thing I want to see is the velocity going to be what Federal says it is? So again, this is the Savage Trail Hunter Lite, 7 Backcountry, 16.5-inch barrel. Got the VX3 4.5 to 14 on there, so really excited to see how this thing does. We're going to check what the recoil feels like, and again check those muzzle velocities. Got the Athlon Rangecraft out here today, going to be the first time using that, so super excited to see how all this works out. Stay tuned. So again, I do got all 3 of the main hunting ammo that Federal has. They just released at the time of this recording the Burger, I think it's the Elite Hunter with a 195 grain. Don't have that unfortunately, but I do have the first 3 that they released, which is the 170 Terminal Ascent. They show that going 3150. Keep in mind this is 24-inch barrel velocities, but 3150 on the 170 Terminal Ascent. We've got the what is that, the Tipped Fusion 175 grain. They've got that one going 3125. It actually has 20-inch barrel velocities on here as well. They claim 2975 out of a 20-inch barrel. Let me see, yeah, the Terminal Ascent, they show 3000 out of the 20-inch barrel. And then finally we got the 168 grain Barnes LRX. Show that one at 3150, and from a 20-inch barrel, 3000 feet per second as well. So super excited to see how this does. I honestly don't really have a horse I'm betting on, I guess, per se. I've heard that the Fusion is the best shooter. Personally, I would kind of like the LRX to be the most accurate out of this rifle that I'm going to hunt with, but I think that all in all, these are all super good bullets. Now, I have had one bad experience with the Terminal Ascent, but I think that's very much the exception and not the rule, just based on what everyone else is saying about it and how much everyone else likes it. So without further ado, let's set up the Athlon Rangecraft, get this all set up. I've got a 100-yard target out there. I've got to shoot out of the back of my pickup to get me up above the grass. We are in the grasslands here, and it's kind of thick this time of year, so got to shoot from a little bit of an elevation here to get up above the grass. But gonna get all set up, and we'll see you when we're shooting. So again, the main thing that I want to see here is the velocity. I want to see if they're being honest about what this thing will do. Secondarily, I'd like to see some good accuracy, but I'm going to say that today we've got a pretty strong and inconsistent crosswind, so if it doesn't shoot the most accurate, I'm not going to be too terribly concerned. Usually that'd be something that I'm super particular about, but today I'm realistic. I know that there's a good chance that the wind could affect these shots at 100 yards, so keep that in mind with the accuracy. But let's check out the velocity. We're going to start off with the Federal Tipped Fusion 175 grain. Now keep in mind that Federal's box says that out of a 20-inch barrel, we should be seeing 2975, and I've got a 16.5-inch barrel. So one would think we would be looking at 28 to, I mean, maybe 29 on a good day. So let's see what happens. $29.47.5. Holy cow. I mean, that's super good. Jesus. Bolt lift is a little bit stiff. 28.93. Last one. 29.26. Bolt lift seems just ever so slightly stiff after the shot, but otherwise trigger actually feels good on it. A little bit more recoil than I was expecting, but I guess it doesn't have a brake or anything on it. Obviously not a super heavy rifle, so maybe that's to be expected, but I'm curious to see where we hit. I'm hoping we're on the box, but Otherwise, yeah, let's go take a look. All right, so shooting a little bit higher than I thought it would be at that distance. Just kind of did a quick foresight with my eye through there. Usually I'm closer than that, but in any case, we got 1, 2, third one kind of skimmed the top there, which honestly, looking at it, it's probably like an 1.25 inch group, the way that it angled in there, so not terrible honestly. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark these, and then for the next round of ammo, I'm probably gonna put a spot like right here, and that's where I'm going to aim. I'll probably actually move it a little bit to the right too, just a little bit, but I should make sure I get down onto the box there for that one, and then we may end up just flipping the box and shooting another target with those tip fusions, just to make sure we get an actual 3-shot group on the box. Why would I just make another mark to shoot at rather than adjust my scope down? Well, like a dummy, I took off and forgot an Allen wrench to remove the cap for the CDS turret. So I can go up, but I can't go down, unfortunately. So unless I can crawl all over my truck and find something that will work to get that off of there, I'm just gonna have to aim low. Just want to mention, so the left case is from the tip fusion that I just shot. This is the terminal Ascent. Huge difference in the way that looks. All right, next up we have got the Federal Terminal Ascent 170s, supposedly 3,000 feet per second from a 20-inch barrel. Let's see what we got out of a 16.5. 29.47. Okay. Got a mild extraction issue here. Okay, that's not good. What the heck? I mean, honestly, no signs of pressure. Just did not want to come out of there. Okay. See what the next one looks like. So that one came out no problem, and speed was 29.25. And finally 29.14. Again, no problem taking the spent case out that time. I mean, that first one would have been, if you'd have needed a second shot on that first round, that would not have worked out in your favor, I guess. All right, so this was the first shot. It is quite a bit higher than the other two, so I don't know if there was more pressure in that case or what. These two are like 1/2 inch apart, but the group in total is 1 3/4 or so, so not positive there. I think before I go to the solid copper bullet, I'm just gonna run through 3 more rounds of the tip fusion and the Federal Terminal Ascent both. Again, just that one shot on the Terminal Ascent was a little odd, and I would really like to have 3 on the box for the fusion. So gonna rip through 2 more groups with those, and then we'll switch to the barns. So I didn't actually record that because I was just trying to save time on the video and for you all, but 3 out of the 6 were tough to eject, and 2 out of the 6 were requiring way more effort than is necessary or should be necessary to get them out. This is the 6th one. This is another terminal ascent, but I mean, my hands are all beat up from beating on this stupid thing. So I don't know if there's just something about these Savages that I'm unaware of that is off, but I mean this sucks. I mean, this is absolutely useless in my opinion. I should probably say something along the lines of don't try this at home, but at this point I don't know what the frick else to do. Jesus. I mean, literally, there's nothing that even looks wrong with this case. You know, I'm gonna keep this one. I'm gonna put calipers on it compared to all the other ones. I'll just mark this one with the Sharpie quick, and because this was definitely the hardest one to get out. Even hitting it with my hand and bloodying my knuckles, I couldn't get it to open up. So I'm just gonna mark this one with the Sharpie, and we'll throw calipers all over that thing versus some of the other ones and see. But I mean, if they're in spec, then I gotta imagine it's the rifle. And like I said, I could be missing something, but holy balls. But that worked pretty good to open the bolt, so let's shoot the barns. Well, this has been an interesting day to say the least. I'll load up what is hopefully the last 3 rounds of the day, because I have, we'll say, a mild bit of frustration. We'll say a fairly sore shoulder. But yeah, let's see if we can finish out the day strong here without blowing a gun up or getting something stuck so hard that I gotta take it to the gunsmith. Now that felt a little hot, and it ejected just fine. 29.59, I mean, holy cow. Gotta be honest, my shoulder is starting to hurt. 29.40, 29.48. Please eject, thank God. All right, it was a major goddamn failure. All right, for this one, I was aiming at this center square, which was like a 3-inch square. So got a 1.5 inch group there. Again, not super concerned with the accuracy today because I've got a few things on my mind at this point. Plus, at this point, my shoulder is pretty sore. So, I mean, I think that first group with the fusions was probably the best. I think that was right at a 1 inch or so group. But yeah, they kind of got a little wonky as the day went on. But yeah, weird stuff happening here, huh? All right, so that was obviously a little bit unexpected, at least for me anyway. Wasn't expecting to have the issues that we did. However, we did, so let's talk about them. So clearly the ejection slash extraction, I guess extraction issues, that's the biggest issue of today. You know, that's something that's honestly pretty concerning. Definitely was worse on the terminal ascent rounds than the other two. I did have it happen on one of the fusions. It did not happen on any of the barns. However, it was 1 of 6 on the fusions, 0 of 3 on the barns, and I believe it was 3 out of the 6 of the terminal ascents were super hard to extract, and that one honestly was extremely tough. I mean, I beat my hand up pretty decent trying to get it open. Anything that I had in the truck that, you know, could smack something without damaging anything, I tried. Ultimately, I had to put it against the tailgate and just, you know, slide it across like that, and you know, it popped right open. But that is unacceptable, obviously. I'll reach out to Savage and see. I mean, I have a pretty small channel, so I'm not sure, you know, if I'll get much for a response. In my opinion, though, it shouldn't matter, you know, your YouTube following or Instagram follower count, this is something that the average person is gonna be pissed about if this happens. So something that if it's on the rifle end of things, it's got to be addressed. If it's on the cartridge end of things, then I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's not. I mean, there's no signs of excessive pressure. And I don't know if a pressure sign on a steel case looks different than on a brass case, but I didn't see any signs of excessive pressure. I didn't see, you know, anything that would make me think that that it should hang up like it was, which makes me think it's the rifle. And I hate to say that, but it might be one of those situations where if you spend $500 on a rifle, you get a $500 rifle. That's still a lot of money, though. I mean, that's something that's got to be fixed. So I'll talk to Savage and see what happens. More than likely, it'll end up going to Savage to get worked on, which sucks because I was planning to use this exact rifle for deer this year. Hopefully, their turnaround time is quick. But yeah, I mean, that's certainly the biggest concern, I would say, on this particular day, the extraction issues. The other issue I had was accuracy, but like I said, I'm not terribly concerned with, you know, that for today. I was uncomfortable. The extraction issues had me a little shaken up. The winds, gusting anywhere from 5 to 12 probably on a crosswind. So really not concerned with the accuracy. A lot of groups were 1.5 inches or less. So I mean that's still pretty decent for the situation that I was in today, to be honest. I mean, normally I would have crapped all over those results for accuracy, but I'm realistic and know that a lot of that was not the rifle's fault today. So the biggest thing is the extraction. Got to get that figured out. Got to get that sorted out. But let's go on to the positives of today. So what we learned through today's video is that Federal is not lying about the velocity. In fact, they might be underselling themselves. So they were claiming, basically, for round numbers, we'll call it 3,000 feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel, and that's down from 3,150 out of a 24. So they're claiming they're going to lose 150 feet per second, losing that first 4 inches of barrel length. Most of ours were in the mid 29s today, low to mid 29s. That last group of barns averaged right at 2950. So I find it hard to believe that you only lose 50 feet per second, cutting another 4 inches of barrel off. I think it's more likely that if I had a 20-inch barrel, we would be seeing higher than 3,000 feet per second, maybe 3050 or even 3100. So I think it's got a lot of potential from that side of things. And as a matter of fact, I think that looking at some of the other 7mm out there, apples to apples, you throw a 155 grainer in this and compare it to a lot of the other ones out there, this is honestly probably one of the fastest 7mm out there with a 24-inch barrel. Final thoughts of the day. My shoulder is sore. In the last video I mentioned that recoil pad looked like it would do a decent job of mitigating recoil, and maybe it does. Maybe it's just the fact that it doesn't have a brake, and the last couple rifles I've had have had brakes. But in any case, recoil was not super pleasant, I would say. I mean, it's certainly fine. I mean, it's not a child's rifle. If you're a grown person, you're going to be fine shooting it. And to be honest, the angle kind of prone and like downward a bit that I was shooting from my truck, it's not the greatest angle as far as comfort goes. But it did have more kick than I would have expected. I'm super excited for the cartridge. I really am. Despite the negatives that came about today, I am super excited for the cartridge because they haven't lied about the velocity and they haven't lied about what this thing can potentially do. Gives me a ton of hope that they might even be able to do like a 308 backcountry. I mean, I wouldn't call it that. I'm not a fan of the backcountry name, to be honest, but something like that. Some heavy for caliber 308s in a short action, get us at 28, 29 with a 180 and a short action 308. That would be awesome. A little 18-inch barrel rifle that weighs 6 pounds. That would be super sweet if we can get that. And seriously, y'all, if you know of anything that could have been causing the issues that I had today, please let me know. I'm by no means an expert. I feel like I wasn't missing anything. It seemed to be that it was just random. A lot of them just seemed smooth as glass, working that action and extracting that spent cartridge. But, there could have certainly been something that I'm missing. So if you know what was going on, or if you have any ideas of what could cause that, please let me know. Keep in mind, there was not really any pressure signs on the cases. So I'd be curious to see if someone out there has had similar experiences or maybe knows what the heck is going on. Now, I'm sure there's not, but if there is someone from Savage or Federal watching this video, by all means, contact me. Let's work this thing out. I would love to put out a video that said, hey, Savage said this is the problem, or, it's something that's my fault, or Savage said, hey, send your rifle in, and they say, yeah, there was an issue with it. Here's one that doesn't have an issue. You're good to go. That's my ideal scenario here. I don't like tracking down who you got to talk to get stuff figured out at some of these bigger companies. But in any case, I hope that it's something that can be remedied. I don't want to have to move this rifle down the road. One, because it's just inefficient to buy and sell guns. You always lose a little bit of money each time. And two, if that thing has issues, I can't in good conscience sell it to someone else as, a good rifle. So it's going to have to get addressed one way or the other. Guys, I hope you all learned something from this video. Pipe down, I'm trying to do a video. I hope you all learned something from this video. I know I sure did. We learned that Federal is not lying about their velocities. We learned that Savage might have an issue with some extraction on the 7BC. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Obviously the day could have went better, but it is what it is. Made it to the end of the video. I appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Hit like if you like this video. Drop a comment. Plenty to talk about in this video, I'm certain. Till next time, y'all be safe.